Lisbon was quiet that evening, cloaked in a gentle mist that softened the glow of the streetlights and made the narrow cobblestone streets glisten under Ronaldo's deliberate footsteps. The rhythm of his shoes echoed in the silence, a haunting soundtrack to a journey he hadn't taken in decades. This wasn't a planned visit. No security entourage, no stylist, no press waiting with eager microphones. He was alone, his hoodie pulled low, his pace slow and thoughtful. This part of the city, the crumbling buildings, the scent of grilled sardines wafting from nearby windows, held ghosts of a past that fame could never erase. He turned onto a side street and approached a familiar landmark, an old graffiti-covered wall bordering the schoolyard where he used to spend his afternoons. The paint was faded, but the memories were vivid. He paused. The playground lay deserted, its rusted swings creaking in the breeze like faint echoes of laughter from long ago. His eyes fixed on the concrete where he once dribbled a threadbare ball for hours, losing himself in dreams far bigger than his surroundings. He remembered how he used to imagine stadiums packed with fans chanting his name, banners flying, lights blazing, not because he wanted glory, but because he needed to believe there was something more than the life he knew. But those dreams had come with a cost. He clenched his jaw as another memory surfaced. Luis, not just a classmate, but a tormentor. An older boy with a cruel streak who picked on him daily. His clothes, his Madeiran accent, the wild ambition in his eyes, everything about Ronaldo had made him a target. Luis's jeers weren't just jokes. They were daggers that sank deep. Ronaldo still remembered the sting of humiliation, the shame of walking home in silence, and the crushing loneliness that came from being different and from daring to dream bigger than his block. So when he rounded the next corner and saw what waited for him, it didn't just surprise him, it stopped him cold. What happened next would unravel everything he thought he had buried. A face from the shadows. Ronaldo turned a corner and walked into a small café for a quick espresso. The place was almost empty except for an older man cleaning tables near the back. He looked up, eyes locking with Ronaldo's, and froze mid-motion, the rag in his hand hanging limply. Cristiano. It was Luis. But he wasn't the towering figure Ronaldo remembered. He was older, thinner, his face weathered by life. His once boastful posture now carried a quiet humility. Time had reshaped him into someone almost unrecognizable, a ghost of the boy who once stood tall in the schoolyard. Ronaldo stared for a moment, his heart racing. All the feelings he had buried came flooding back. The shame, the rage, the humiliation, and the relentless drive to prove him wrong. Every insult, every push on the playground, every time he went home in tears, it all came rushing back. But instead of turning away or unleashing his anger, Ronaldo walked over, calm but resolute, each step deliberate as if closing a loop left open for decades. "Do you remember me?" he asked, his voice low but firm. Luis nodded slowly, his eyes welling. "Every day, I was cruel to you, and I've regretted it ever since." The cafe was silent. Even the faint hum of the espresso machine seemed to pause, as if the room itself was holding its breath. The power of forgiveness. They talked. Not for a few minutes, but for over an hour that felt like a lifetime, compressed into words. Luis opened up with a trembling voice, each sentence peeling back the layers of guilt he had buried for years. He spoke of a rough childhood filled with anger and confusion, a broken home where love was scarce and survival came first. His bullying wasn't born from power, it was born from pain, a desperate way to feel control in a world that made him feel worthless. Each confession came slowly, like wounds being reopened with care, not to bleed, but to finally heal. He admitted to sleepless nights, haunted by the sound of his own cruelty echoing in his mind. He said there were times he avoided mirrors because he couldn't stand to see the boy he used to be staring back at him. He told Ronaldo that he had watched every match, followed every headline, seen every trophy lift, not with jealousy, but with a strange combination of shame and admiration. "I saw you rise," he said. "And every time you did, a part of me shrank inside, because I remembered who I had been to you." He explained how every Ronaldo victory made him reflect on his own failures, not just as a boy, but as a man who had never forgiven himself. There was envy, yes, but not for the fame, for the strength to turn pain into greatness. Ronaldo listened in silence, his eyes steady. He thought of the sleepless nights as a boy, the moments of doubt, the fire that had fueled him to push harder, to become someone no one could ignore. That fire had come in part from Luis, but now he saw not a rival or a villain. He saw a man worn down by time, desperately trying to make peace with a past that refused to stay buried. In that moment, the tables turned. Luis was no longer the one in power. He was the one seeking something even more difficult than redemption: understanding. And then Ronaldo did something completely unexpected. He forgave him, not out of obligation, not for the cameras, but because he realized he didn't want to carry that pain anymore. Forgiveness wasn't about absolution, it was about liberation. He saw Luis not as the boy who tormented him, but as a reflection of pain, someone who had never been taught how to be better. The act of forgiving wasn't a victory lap, it was an act of reclaiming his peace. A silent, powerful exhale of years held tightly in his chest. Before leaving, Ronaldo paid for their coffee, stood up and placed a hand on Luis's shoulder. "Sometimes the hardest victories," he said softly, "are the ones no one sees. But they change everything." Luis's eyes filled with tears, not because he had been let off the hook, but because someone he had broken had chosen to see him as human again. It was a quiet moment of healing for both of them. What this moment teaches us all. This story isn't just about Ronaldo or Luis. It's about the invisible weight we all carry, the memories that shaped us, the people who hurt us, and the choices we make in response. It's about the quiet wars we fight within, the moments when we could seek revenge but choose grace instead. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, it means refusing to be chained to the pain any longer. It's the boldest move anyone can make, to let go and move forward. It reminds us that strength isn't just measured by trophies or titles. It's found in the courage to confront our own history and offer compassion where it's least expected. It's about recognizing the humanity in those who once failed us, and in doing so, reclaiming a part of ourselves that pain tried to steal. When we choose forgiveness, we create space for healing, not just for others, but for the parts of ourselves we kept hidden in anger and fear. Think about your own life. Have you ever faced someone who wronged you? Could you look into the eyes of your past and say, "I forgive you"? Not for them, but for your own peace? Maybe it's time to have that conversation, even if it's just in your heart. We'd love to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Has someone from your past ever reached out and surprised you, humbled you, or changed your perspective? Your story might help someone else find healing. Let this space be a place of honesty, support, and connection, because everyone has a story worth sharing. If this story moved you, resonated with your own journey, or made you reflect on old wounds, do us a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe for more emotional and true stories from the world of football and beyond, and turn on notifications so you're always first to experience our next journey. Because sometimes the greatest matches aren't won with goals. They're won with heart, with understanding, and with the quiet power of letting go.